I mean, look, first and foremost, I think, and I like to think anyone in Pembrokeshire Sport would agree with this, on the national scale, in the grand scheme of things, not being able to play a game of football or rugby on a Saturday doesn't seem important. At the moment, lives are being lost, families are being thrown into turmoil, you're talking people who have long-term financial ruin, but that doesn't detract from the fact that when you do get into Pembrokeshire Sport, it's the long-term effects. It's not a case of people not being able to play or train for a few weeks or even months the problems. You're talking the livelihood and survival of a lot of clubs and organisations here, and we take it goes a lot further than football, rugby, cricket, but it's maybe your main core sport. You take them an example. You're talking clubs. A lot of clubs are on site. They open every Saturday. They depend on the revenue that comes in. They employ people. They pay bills, electricity, and so on. You're talking months without functioning now. Months of probably being closed down when the inevitable happens, and we go into this shutdown. But it goes further than that as well. You've got a lot of teams who go back to local pubs. Those pubs are going to be affected. Those pubs and local businesses supply and sponsor a lot of teams. Are they going to be committing money now? It's very unlikely. I think there is so many side effects and ramifications to what's going to happen here, and not to mention as well the long-term disruption. There's no end point to this. A lot of people are guessing. Like you say, you read 1 minute that this is going to peak in May, the next moment it's going to peak in July. There's no end point, or there's no restart point, maybe we should put at the moment. And when that restart point does come, it's not going to be a case of clicking fingers and everything going back to normal in terms of sport. You're going to have chaos. It's going to take clubs a long time to reassemble players. It's going to take authorities a long time to reassemble committees, to put fixtures back together, to put things back in place. I don't, and I'm not going to guess it, but I don't think you can put any kind of timescale when things will be back to normal at the moment.
Can't, and that's the same for everything. And what we're looking at is, we know it's like, it's hard enough, being involved in the rugby scene, and especially, junior rugby and youth rugby. Yeah. The biggest thing we always say with youth rugby is you can't let those boys stop playing, because once they stop playing and they find something else to do on the weekend, although there's not much to do at the moment, but they go away from it, it's very difficult to get them back, especially the ones who aren't motivated to train, themselves and keep themselves fit. You feel lazy. Are they actually going to go back? Yeah. To keep that player retention and things like that, I imagine is, these are just side issues to the whole bigger thing, but we're here to talk about sport, and keeping these clubs, which these clubs are part of the community, and they're massive parts of the community. They keep people occupied, they keep people sane, they give people a focus of things to do. It's not just a game, really.
No, yeah, absolutely right. And you look at all the factors that we a lot of us have banged on for so many years about to why grassroots sports is maybe slowly dying, and those factors are about to magnify the loss of, like you say, motivation in young people, players who are maybe part-time, and also we talk about things like economic factors now, about people not wanting to miss work to play anymore. Well, that's going to magnify tenfold, because there's going to be a lot of people now financially struggling for the next few months. When they come out of this or get the chance to go back to some kind of full-time employment, their first thought isn't going to be let's go back to playing sport. And the social side as well is going to take another massive hit. I think my great fear is when things eventually get going again, you'll do so again a much lesser rate of numbers than you did beforehand, which was dwindling anyway. And like you say, it is a side effect, and it seems secondary, but it's all going to come into play. And yourself, having tried to run a youth team this year, how much of a struggle that was, and you couldn't keep boys there, and I think that's fair to say.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Could you even envisage after all this starting it up again now, because you'd be starting from scratch again? A lot of people start from scratch now.
Obviously with the event side of things, I could see, obviously on Strava, and you see people training, and there's those core people who train all the time, and I thought it was quite fitting that someone who does events all the time, someone I know, local fella like you, who does events all the time, trains all the time, he's massively into it. He put a picture on Strava of his legs in the bath and saying lost the motivation to train, and without end goals and things to train for, people will lose motivation. I mean, for you know, those events, you know, as well, like, you know, things like, you know, the runs and the endurance stuff and that, it is a massive social thing. You know, people who perhaps have never been involved maybe in playing team sport and that, and then we're looking for something, a bond of people to get together, you know, and it's massively in the sort of middle-age range of people, you know, possibly suffering a little bit, you know, depression, bit of lost in life, you know, gives them a focus, gives them something to do, gives them motivation. You know, that's what these events do for a lot of people. You know, 80% of people are there you know, not there to win it. They're there to as a social aspect and as something to do and as something to motivate them and fix them, keep them healthy, and that's just gone away. Like, you know, it's.
I think that is another massive concern. Is going to be, you know, so much has been brought about mental health in recent times, mental health and well-being of a lot of people of the overall nation. You know, you've got a lot of people who it's taken this surge in endurance events and so on, and this surge in personal training in the last few years, and people setting up their own companies for them to get out and do something, you know, and even the places like the gym in St David's, which people didn't have for a long time. You know, a lot of people who had never gone on a cross training before suddenly started training regularly, you know, and once that's gone, that's my concern, is keeping those people active. Now, I know there's still guidelines that you can go out for maybe isolated runs, and there are people on the internet already putting home workouts and that sort of thing, but it's going to be people who are stuck home, who are parents, whose children would have been in school. You know, it's going to be time consuming. A lot of people have panic bought. There's food there to eat, you know, and who aren't used maybe to motivating themselves, and have needed that bit of encouragement, and have needed, like you say, the social side and the interaction. You fear for their health and well-being now, you know, and they're probably going to take a lot of people and take major steps backwards. And then the endurance industry, as you know, and the event industry as a whole is going to be hanging by a precipice, you know, and so are personal trainers, you know. Yeah. I think there's only so long you could perhaps, I mean, the internet can become more important than ever, and I think you can set up internet classes and people pay for classes and so long, but it's to a massive dearth, I think, in what they've been earning, a massive dearth in membership and so on, you know, no matter however you get around it. And you have to stay positive, but it's concerning times, as you know yourself. You know,
it is, and you know, it's the financial thing. I mean, I saw something, you know, online, someone saying about being positive and looking at different ways to run your business, and, you know, do things like, you know, internet classes or internet, you know, things online. And someone commented on this saying, well, I'm a musician and I need people to play in front of, you know, I need crowds to play in front of, and I can't have that. And they said, well, you know, make some YouTube footage of your music. And the guy said, well, I'm a tribute band, you know, who's gonna want to watch a tribute band online when you can just watch the real thing? Like, you know, it's a difficult thing, but it's I mean, with the events and the motivation, I mean, you know, the events industry has been hit really hard, like, you know, and it's the same as, you know, every industry. I don't want to sort of take away from anyone else, but, you know, on a personal note, and, you know, this is where my sort of knowledge lies, it's been hit massively. For us personally, you know, we had a massive year heading up. You know, we had Rastow Sant, which had to be put back because of the storms, but we got away with that. You know, we got over it. We you know, that these things happen every now and again. And then we had a couple of other events. We had Tour de Shane coming up. We had the Rearrange Rastow Sant. There's a couple of other events, plus our adventure activity business, you know, the Coastal Kayak and groups coming down. We were massively full. You know, we're between now and the 1st of sort of June, we were flat out. You know, I committed to staff. I had people, you know, working for us and everything like that, and it's just we'd commit to new kit, new training, and everything financially. Big commitments had gone in, and then this has happened, and obviously, you know, some people have cancelled. Some people said we're going to see how it goes, and some people have said, can we push it on later in the year? I mean, and this is another thing the events industry has got, like, you know, is when everything gets pushed back. You know, London Marathon got pushed back, clashes with Cardiff Half. Yeah. You know, so two big events there are going to clash. You know, and then we've got. So I'm looking locally, right? Do I push Rastow Sant back to June? To July, August? If we do have a good summer, the Coast Path is going to be so rammed packed on that time, it's not suitable for us to hold an event in St David's. If we're looking at sort of October, September, there's so many other events on. So people are going to be running marathons and half marathons every weekend. It's so. I mean, we've taken the initiative that we're going to do a virtual run, and we're going to just put Ras Dewi Sant back to next year. Is no point in trying to second guess how long this is going to go on.
Now, I would also argue putting anything, and I include the London Marathon in this, rescheduling right now at a specific later date is a massive risk.
Yeah.
Before right now at a specific later date is a massive risk.
Yeah.
Before we've had this shutdown, which we're inevitably heading for, and until we've come out of that, and there's any kind of normality back in the UK again, putting specific dates on things, I would say, is a massive risk. I'd say you're almost asking to have to cancel again.
Yeah. And that's what we didn't want to do with Ras Dewi Sant. We didn't want people saying, "Well, I've already committed to another race." Then, if the races do go ahead, and also, are we going to have to cancel again? So, we've put it back to next year, and the virtual run seems to be, quite a big thing in America. Having this problem as well, I mean, it's not the same by any stretch, but we've got the T-shirts, we've got the medals. People can use their Strava accounts. They can run the event. We'll have leaderboards. We're also going to run a virtual league over a 2-week period where you can run different races, different bike rides, even open water swimming, a little mini triathlon. So we're looking at that. We're going to put that out, and it's just to keep people motivated. I mean, there's no financial thing. We're not going to charge people to enter it, because you can't charge people to enter something like that, and also people are struggling financially. But it's just a case of us gathering that and giving people hopefully a motivation and something else to look on social media rather than all the doom and gloom that's out. So yeah, we're going to try and run some virtual races. And
you as an inventor might think both of these shouts are wildly optimistic, right? But I'd argue the virtual race thing for many could almost be seen as a greater challenge, right? I can only talk personally. I think when you're in a race, you've got people ahead of you. A lot of the time, you know what's behind you. You've got that target there. I've also done the coast path on my own a lot of times in wet, windy morning, that Ras Dewi Sant route, and that's where you properly have to dig deep. You know what I mean? When it's windy, when it's rain, when it's a bit of mud on there, and you're completely by yourself, and you're only training. So almost sometimes training against yourself and performing well, I think, in something like that is almost a greater achievement than doing it in a race. I can see the argument against, because obviously you don't have the pressure of beating people who are at a very high level or winning, but I think a lot of people could see that as quite a motivational challenge to go out against themselves, push themselves, and then compared to how others push themselves in training. You see all the great quotes, don't you, about was it Gary Player, isn't it a coincidence the harder I train, the luckier I get, or Muhammad Ali used to say my fights were won long before I got out in the bright lights. They were won in dark, dungy gyms where no one was watching me. So could a lot of people maybe buy into that aspect of it?
I think people could, and I just want to clarify, when you say what's in front and behind you, when you're running your race, the 99% of people are behind you. When I'm running, I know 99% of people are in front of me. So,
but either way, you've got a target.
Yeah, I've got someone to try and.
You've always got a target to overtake.
You've always got someone chasing you down, or someone you're chasing down.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, and it is. And I mean, what we were going to do when I was looking at the virtual races, and I thought, right, with the leagues thing, I'm doing it over a 2-week period. But with Ras Dewi Sant, I was going to do the same. I said, run it any time between now and then. And I thought, no, do it on the 25th. Because if you say to people, you can do it any day, they won't do it. It's like, if you think, if you've got a full schedule, an empty schedule, and you think, I'm going to start my training tomorrow. Oh, well, I'm not doing anything next day. I'm going to start the day after. Busy people get things done a lot quicker and are set in their schedules and their regimes because they have to be. So I think sometimes people need to be said, look, it has to be done on this day. So that's what we're going to do at Ras Dewi Sant, and I guarantee I'll get emails, someone saying, I can't do it on the 25th, can I do it on the 24th?
What if you get storms on the 25th?
Just stay off the coast path, I'll stay away from trees. I mean, they have to cancel a virtual race because of storms. And also we don't know, where things are going to be at that point. Are there going to be tanks roaming the streets telling us to stay indoors, and
course,
you know, it's, you know, I'm sort of, you know, maybe light-hearted with that, but we just really don't know where things are going.
And the other thing